Добрый день, уважаемые друзья. Рад
Hello.
приветствовать.
Welcome to the magical...
Video blog.
It's called 1001 Compliance Days with Timur and Irina.
Алиной.
It will be devoted to compliance program implementation.
В организациях.
That is who this blog is for.
For those who want to improve or launch compliance programs in their organizations.
Okay, by the way, I do have a question for you. Why are you wearing that awesome Eastern outfit?
The East is a sensitive matter. Of course, so is compliance.
You've prepared your answer in advance. Yes, obviously. Kind of like homework.
Homework? That didn't work out.
That was funny. Anyway, may I call you Scheherazade then?
You can call me Scheherazade, or perhaps Irina.
Okay, Irina, aka Scheherazade. Let's discuss question number...
Вопрос номер.
1. Must be the most important one. Here we go. What is compliance, Timur? And why do we need it?
Ты знаешь, вот
You know, I was quite amazed myself when I learned that compliance is a medical term
медицинский.
used to determine to what extent patients,
Выполняем
followed the doctor's prescriptions, as in the terms of treatment and medicine consumption.
лекарственных средств.
Right. It is derived from the verb comply.
Oh, really?
Believe me on this.
The word compliance, as such, might have many meanings. With consideration this fact, do you think people in the corporate world might have difficulties when they refer to compliance as a concept?
You must differentiate compliance, meaning respective departments and organizations, from compliance, meaning corporate system aimed at observing the respective laws.
Я согласен.
Fully agreed.
Первое.
So we can state that it is vital to differentiate compliance as a general mission of an organization,
И для себя
the goal being to follow the laws of functionality
компании или организации.
by a designated team called the Compliance Department. This department acts as a coordinator that implements a third concept, a corporate compliance system,
Координировать внедрение.
aimed at observing specified regulations.
Все были хорошими.
Corporate compliance systems comprise of various elements like policies, risk assessment, and support from senior management.
Из механизма реагирования.
You mean tone at the top.
Exactly, tone at the top. It is vital confusion in understanding the purpose of compliance by senior management leads to problems. For instance, in one case, the board was assuming that the company had complied with all applicable laws just because the organization had a department titled the Compliance Department. Please do not repeat that mistake. In the meantime, we move on to the next question, number
3.
2. We will discuss question 2, and it will refer to
To compliance areas.
Управление. Ну,
what are areas? Well, do you know?
Yes. I believe the main areas are anti-corruption compliance and ethics compliance.
Having said that, let's acknowledge that compliance concept just may be applicable to almost any set of legislative or corporate rules the company has or wishes to comply with. Each company should define its own set of compliance priorities. However, in general, I agree with you that in the business world, the most well-known area is anti-corruption compliance. The reason is that corporations must comply with the U.S. Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. In case of breach, it leads to huge fines and criminal investigations. The same is true for antitrust laws.
Data protection laws.
Right,
персональных данных.
Then sanctions compliance.
right.
Combating money laundering and terrorism financing. What else? HR compliance.
Well, there could be unlimited areas of compliance. Actually, compliance can be referred to observation of any kind of rules,
Контроль за соответствием любым требованиям.
right?
Right. So corporate compliance systems are a set of measures that an organization deploy to ensure they are following all applicable laws and internal policies. These measures might include, for example, risk management, policy making, trainings.
Right. I should specifically mention that there could be different compliance areas, and each company can define its own set of areas to comply based on respective laws and internal documents, frequently called policies and procedures. Let's talk about them. Setting internal rules of the game in the corporate policy is an integral part of success, as allows organization creating uniform standards, which is compulsory for all of its employees.
These standards could be fixed in the most important policy, which is called ethics code, or alike. Such codes define corporate values and set behavioral standards the employees need to follow while interacting with each other, business partners, and state officials.
Well, now we are moving to question number
номер
3.
and that is
3 lines of defense.
exactly the methodology called 3 lines of defense. Why does it matter? Here's my personal story. Once I was requested by the CEO of the company to launch a compliance function from scratch. The problem started where it appeared that there was a number of departments like legal, audit, internal control, whose control duties were overlapped between them. There was no clear allocation of duties between departments. It was a mess.
В моем случае было просто куда бежать.
As a solution for such cases, there is a concept of 3 lines of defense that proved to be effective in many instances with myself and my colleagues.
What is that?
Do you want details? Well, to make the story short, the first line of defense is the personnel of the company who has to follow the rules, which were developed by the second line of defense by so-called control departments, like compliance department, security, legal.
Это как раз контрольные подразделения, такие как комплайенс-функция, функция комплайенс-контроля, служба безопасности, риски, либо...
Or other departments who are authorized.
To set the rules. Right. And the third line of defense is represented by internal audit department, that is to evaluate the effectiveness of controls and efficiency of the corporate compliance system.
In general.
In general.
Отлично.
Welcome, my dear friends. I am going to tell you my fairy tales. My tales can be very different, kind and true, magical and scary. But anyway, my tales will teach you something.
Бывают сказки страшные, но всегда сказки поучительные.
Once upon a time, one Oriental company decided to set up a compliance department to mitigate risks doing business at emerging markets. No one in the company would know how this should be done, and thus, the company management decided to hire an experienced compliance officer from the market to develop the corporate compliance system. Executive search agencies were engaged, a lot of CVs were submitted, a lot of interviews with senior managers took place. Finally, they have hired a compliance officer. He was given carte blanche to build a world-class compliance program. The company was eager to implement best practices. However, since there was no clear understanding what exactly compliance officers did at his previous job, the company faced problems. It turned out that the new employee had some different job functions before. He was not a real expert in anti-corruption area. Now he would need to face compliance issues, like bribery risks in state procurement, or compliance checks and payments to third parties. He doesn't have enough knowledge for that. He doesn't feel comfortable with new functions that scare him. So what he did was constant control over expenses occurring during business lunches with partners. The company had limits over expenses on meals, and they were strictly followed. Nevertheless, it was the sole area for constant compliance control. In the end of the day, the company did not get a real world-class compliance system, but sincerely believed that the sole control over expenses during business lunches, which was occurring in the company under leadership of the compliance officer, meant a solid compliance system.
Pizza control.
Yep.
Friends, thank you for having joined us.
С нами присоединяйтесь
Subscribe to our channel.
в следующем выпуске.
Subscribe and
Watch new episodes of 1001 Compliance Days with Timur and Irina.
С Тимуром и Ариной Стемиже.